Well, next to the trial of Russian punk group Pussy Riot in Moscow for their protest in a Russian Orthodox church last February. The case has attracted massive interest in the Western media, much more so than all of the stories of political chicanery, economic corruption, or of the murder of journalists that could be told from Russia. So what are we dealing with here? A Soviet Union-style show trial, or just a silly season story about a punk band looking for notice? Donna Diamond reports.
Everything about the scene that's been played out over weeks at a Moscow courtroom appears slightly surreal. The young women clambering out of the prison van don't seem like much of a threat to anyone, and the barking Rottweiler is surely overkill. Inside, the sense of almost theatrical incongruity is increased by the fact that the women sit in the sort of glass cage that we normally associate with organised crime trials. But these women are not youthful mafia godmothers. They are part of the musically questionable but politically explosive punk protest band Pussy Riot. The women's crime was to perform a punk protest song on the altar of the Christ the Saviour Cathedral in Moscow, imploring the Virgin Mary to chase President Vladimir Putin, now widely seen as hand in glove with the Russian Orthodox Church, from power. Few states and fewer religions would take kindly to their holy places being desecrated in this way, but a possible 3-year sentence for youthful protest seems at least disproportionate. Peter Versilov, husband of Nadezhda Tolokonnikova, says that the repression is so cartoonish that it's easy to explain her mother's absence to their 4-year-old daughter.
Russian politics is very much looks like a cartoon. Everything is black and white, and you don't have a court of prosecution and a defense, but you simply have one single bad man deciding this whole situation. Then it's very easy for a 4-year-old child to explain, to understand what's happening.
He knows that they face immense personal cost, but claims that they have no real choice.
Well, the government is forcing us to pay this price. And they're forcing us to pay this price for Russia's liberty and for the political situation, for the future of the country.
Express yourself, don't repress yourself.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, the plight of Pussy Riot has attracted support from some iconic music industry figures from around the world. Madonna made her very public protest at her Moscow concert only a few days ago. While human sympathy has motivated much of the protests, opposition figures see it as part of a pattern. Anti-corruption blogger Alexei Navalny has found himself facing reactivated charges of theft from a timber company.
We think that the case was a setup, and we're not going to do anything to play their games. Several days ago they were ready to outline my official charges, and I don't know why they're not ready now.
Navalny was also a key leader of anti-Putin protests in Moscow last December. Ostensibly, the regime brushed them off, but in reality may have been unnerved by the thousands that braved the Moscow winter. And apparently well-meaning people in glass cages reminds the world of former billionaire oil tycoon Mikhail Khodorkovsky, convicted on what many saw as trumped-up charges of fraud. Putin critics say his real crime was to enter politics, and the words show trial, then as now, reminded everyone of when cartoonish Russian repression reached its sickening peak.
Let the verdict be that the traitors and spies who want to sell out the homeland should be shot like rabid dogs.
Pussy Riot will not be shot like rabid dogs, nor face 13 years in a Russian prison like Mikhail Khodorkovsky, but members of the group still at large are acutely aware of the very real dangers they are facing.
Of course there is danger, and we feel it. Obviously, we would like to avoid any unpleasant situations in the future. But I'm afraid that every one of us is ready for such instances.
For
me to put a balaclava on, there's a fitting English word for this, honour. Pride has an ambiguous meaning in Russian, but it's an honour.
However, one cannot but be struck by the unequal nature of the struggle that these women and the Russian opposition in general is facing. The Russian Orthodox Church is now seen by many as part of an unholy alliance with the Russian president and his supporters. a united Russian establishment that seems unlikely to give up its gilded position without the most vicious of fightbacks.